Hello, my name is William James, and welcome to the Bored Book Geek. I am the host of this weird void on the internet that we refer to as the Bored Book Geek. How are all of you? This is my Friday reads, my wrap-up, my whatever, haul, whatever you want to call the bloody thing. It's what it is. So it's my Friday reads, and I've been a busy boy. Not many books, but enough. Before we get going, all of my links are down below, so you can watch my videos on places like Odyssey, Library, and a few others. So if you're sick of YouTube's hypocrisy, all the links are down below if you are interested. I read Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. I will say this, while not as good as book 1, I think no sequel ever would be. It was fine. It's exactly what it needed to be. Fun, outlandish, like the original, you know, that's literally all it is. Fun, outlandish, brain switchy off entertainment. I talked about it in a video, and I think a lot of people were unnecessarily harsh on it. And I think a lot of people romanticize Ready Player 1. As much as I love Ready Player 1, I'm the first to accept it's basically a Marvel movie. Shallow, fun, brain switchy off, lots of special effects, like this, no real substance to the story, but it is what it is. That's the intended point of the entire book, and that's what this is. Did it need to exist? No. Is it fun? Yes. Is it well written? Not particularly, but it is what it is. Brain switchy off, fun. I also did a thing with a box full of stories. They sent me some books, and there's a link to that, so you can get money off your first order on books. Box full of stories. They're a great company that deal with books that are thrown away. These are brand new books. They're sent back. They're that percentage of books that don't do well or just get sent back to the publisher and never hit any lists. So in the box was The Night Falling. This is a nice historical fiction set against a troubled marriage with some very interesting relationship dynamics going on. Great writing, very nicely executed. I definitely will be looking for more from this writer. There is a romance element to it, but the history around it is fascinating, and just the sort of character dynamics of this book are fascinating in their own right. I do like my historical fiction, and contrary to what a lot of people say, there is more to historical fiction than just World War II love stories. The devil aspect. Now this is a writer I adore. Craig Russell is a writer I absolutely love. This was also in a box of stories. Great writing, typical historical fiction, nice fast action plots. He's done a lot of stuff, and I can sing praises from his entire series, across his entire repertoire of books. I love my historical fictions, and this is definitely up there. It's a great thriller, it's tense, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's exactly what it needs to be. Marilyn and Me. Now this is an interesting one because it's about when Marilyn was in South Korea, she entertaining the troops. She spent a week there with a translator. This is the story through the translator's eyes. It's semi-historical, semi-reality, so it's that blurred line between the two. It's translated fiction as well. Interesting book. Great writing, great story. The character dynamics again are fascinating, and it's interesting how Marilyn is portrayed, but also this young woman, this young translator who is kind of finding her own way and finding where she is going. She doesn't quite know who she is yet, and she's still learning who she is. It's not a long read, it's a nice short little novella. Enjoyable. Again, box full of stories. Check out the code for money off down below. The Weaker Link. I did enjoy this. I really did enjoy this, but I think next to those two it was the weaker novel. It wasn't as strong, and it wasn't as tightly written. Still very enjoyable. Great little piece of history that we don't tend to talk about. Nothing. India in the 1920s, very early 20s, it isn't talked about. But great little piece of historical fiction again, but definitely the slower side of historical fiction. Not my favourite, but not bad by any means, but one book I won't revisit, but definitely enjoyable. Slow Bullets. This is an odd one for me, because I picked this up in Poundland. I'm aware of the writer, I've read a bit of his work, but not a huge amount. People say this is one of his worst. Why? I think it's to do with the length. There isn't a huge amount for world building in this kind of space opera novel, but it, again, enjoyable. Space operas are what they are. This is an adventure set against the background of war, against betrayal, and finding identity of who we are. This is actually a really good read and a nice little intro to this kind of genre. Is it one of the best that I've read? No. Is it enjoyable? Yes. So it's a good average read. Definitely one I want to revisit at some point because I actually like his writing style. Titan sent me A Hall of Smoke. Now this is an interesting little book. So I enjoyed this book. I really did enjoy this book, I want to say that. But if you know the backstory of Wonder Woman, this is the backstory of Wonder Woman. And I mean that, like, it just reminded me of that backstory of her. It's that same kind of character dynamics, although it's a lot deeper and it goes further. This is more of an adventure, but there is definitely a Wonder Woman vibe, and I do wonder if the writer is a fan of Wonder Woman, or at least has a working knowledge, because it does feel very familiar in that sense. Definitely enjoyable, a great adventure novel, kind of inspired by the ancient world. Definitely an interesting one to get your teeth into. Titan always very good with this kind of stuff. Great debut. That's what I want to add. This is a great debut novel, and I'll be very interesting where the writer goes, H.M. Long, with their career after this, because this is a very good book. So I do wonder what's next for them. Is it the most original novel ever? No. Do I think they've got the bones of being a very good writer? Yes. Cyberpunk City. Now, this was recommended to me by Amazon. This is an indie writer, a great... if you like cyberpunk, if you like that genre, you will like this. Typical cyberpunk fare, detectives, amoral characters, great, enjoyable world building. It's quite short, it's fun. I definitely am going to be reading more by this guy because he's interesting, and you can get the first book free if you sign up to his mailing list. He's very well written and very enjoyable. If you like people like William Gibson, you'll definitely love this. I do find it funny that there is a lot of people that don't actually know what cyberpunk is. It's ridiculous that people don't know what this genre is outside of a design aesthetic. But Cyberpunk City, definitely enjoyable, and definitely a writer I'm going to be reading more of.